holy and precious name we pray. Amen.
I recognize the Honorable Minister for Economic Management and Finance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to move a motion for the amendment of the order paper for item number 7 to be reflected at item number 3, and that item number 7(1)B be deferred until another sitting of this House, Madam Speaker. Sorry, Madam Speaker. Number 1B, yeah. So, Madam Speaker, number 7(1)A is moved to item number 3 on the order paper, and number 7(1)B be deferred. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So just to be clear, item number 7(1)A becomes item number 3, and item number 7(1)B is deferred.
Sorry, Madam Speaker.
Yes. Yes, Honorable Minister?
Sorry. Number 1B is 2 parts. So the first part of number 7(1)B is deferred. The first part of number 7(1)B is deferred.
Thank you for that clarification, Honorable Premier. And I recognize the Honorable Minister for Communications, Works and Labour.
Good day, Madam Speaker. I rise to second the motion for the deferment of item 7(1)B of the order paper to a next sitting of the Legislative Assembly.
And this come up to number 3.
And 7(1)A becomes number 3.
So, members of this Honorable House, you have the proposal before you that the aforementioned amendments be made to the order paper. And so I ask you, members in favor, could you please say aye? Those against, no. And since the ayes have it, the order paper is so amended.
Papers to be laid on the table.
I recognize the Honorable Financial Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to lay the following paper in this Honourable House under the name of the Financial Secretary. Draft Budget Estimates of Expenditure and Revenue 2020 to 21. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Financial Secretary, and I am recognizing the Honorable Attorney General.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to lay on the table of this Honorable House the following papers appearing under the name of the Attorney General. SRNO number 34 of 2020, Public Health, COVID-19, number 2, Order 2020. SRNO number 35 of 2020. Legislative Assembly Standing Orders Amendment, Order 2020. SRNO number 36 of 2020. Public Health, COVID-19 Suppression number 3, Order 2020. And SRNO number 37 of 2020. Proclamation disembodying the Montserrat Defense Force. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Motions.
I recognize the Honourable Minister for Finance and Economic Management.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to move a motion for the first reading of the Appropriation Bill 2020.
Recognize the Honourable Minister with responsibility for communication, works and labour.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion for the first reading of the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2020. Appropriation Bill 2020.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Members of this honourable body, you have before you a motion for the first reading of the Appropriations Bill 2020. Members in favour of a first reading, could you please say aye? Those against, no. Since the ayes have it, the bill will be read a first time.
Appropriation Bill 2020.
Recognizing the Honourable Minister with responsibility for finance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to move a motion for the second reading of the Appropriation Bill 2020. Thank you very much. Thank you. Madam Speaker, I begin by thanking Almighty God for the continued blessings bestowed upon Montserrat. And we are reminded of the words found in Lamentation chapter 3, verse 22 and 23. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassion fail not. They are new every morning. Madam Speaker, I thank the people of Montserrat for bestowing upon me the privilege and responsibility to present this budget, my first as your Premier. Madam Speaker, it is my distinct honor to present the first budget of my administration, a budget which heralds a new era in Montserrat's journey towards meaningful and sustainable development, a budget which is realistic and ambitious, which moves us closer to the promised mountaintop of our self-sufficiency, and which lays the foundation stone for the country we want to build together. Informed by our manifesto promise. This is also a budget dedicated to the improvement of the quality of life for all Montserrat's people, and which guarantees greater inclusiveness in the allocation of our resources. It is a budget that aims to advance a progressive agenda and which lays out our intention to seek greater engagement with the international community and private sector to capitalize upon the unparalleled capital investment which will be delivered by this government in coming years. But, Madam Speaker, it would be remiss of me not to underline that this budget is unlike any other in our history. As I speak, the world continues to be in the midst of a public health emergency with the continued spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has turned our world upside down. This presents challenges to governments everywhere, not only in terms of taking significant public health actions to protect our people, but also in terms of responding to a change in global economic order. These are not normal times, Madam Speaker, and the economic impact of COVID-19 is significant. Our revenue streams due to COVID-19 for the year have been significantly impacted, and our budget presents here today stands at a deficit of nearly 22 million, as we wait the confirmation of additional financial support from DFID. This is unprecedented and is due to the fact that we are living in unprecedented times. Madam Speaker, I will highlight further on in my speech the fiscal measures that my government have implemented to support the economy of Montserrat, which accounts for 8.3 million in spending, following the support of the United Kingdom government in providing additional 2.5 million pounds sterling to support Montserrat in tackling COVID-19. As I have just stated, Madam Speaker, further support will be required to fund the gap between the spend and income. Madam Speaker, Montserrat's post-volcanic development has been long promised by successive governments. However, I stand before you today to present a budget that puts its money where its mouth is when it comes to this pledge. By the end of my government's first term in office, we will have delivered the range of ambitious and transformative projects and programs that Montserrat has been waiting for, and which are quite frankly overdue. Madam Speaker, we will deliver a new port facility with the investment of the more than £21.4 million from the UK CIF and EU funding. We will welcome new trade and visitors to our shores. We will deliver a new fit-for-purpose 21st century national hospital fit for our doctors and nurses and medical staff and patients, ready for the health challenges which faces us. Today, we are more conscious than ever, Madam Speaker, of the need to invest in our health care. And it is our commitment that we will make this project a priority within the separate program. We will have a refurbished airport runway and new control tower, inviting new opportunities and partnerships to land in Montserrat. We will have improved our educational environment for our own children at the secondary level and ensure that we have the right infrastructure for our students to learn and our teachers to teach. We will have invested in our tourism sector more than ever before, delivering a new volcano interpretation center, improved beaches, trails, and overall visitor experiences. We will be competing as a niche location in the global marketplace for ecotourism. We will be more energy efficient and greener than ever before, with power harness from our natural resources, the sun and the wind. We will have invested in our road network and road construction capacity, so our capability. We will have secured our communication network and secure private technology partnership through the implementation of fiber optic connectivity. We will be attracting new investments that build upon our unique characteristics and become a destination of choice for public-private partnership. Through investment in our PMO and procurement teams, we'll have secured a high-quality local project and program management capability that can deliver large-scale and ambitious projects, breeding confidence in our funders and prospective investors. And this, Madam Speaker, is just the beginning. As I deliver this budget, I reach out to each public servant, to each business leader, to each worker, to each parent and student, to each member of the diaspora, to each prospective investor in our country. And I say this: join us in this march. Join us in seeking unparalleled opportunity. Join us in being brave and big and bold in building a Montserrat that we can all be proud of. Join us in building the foundation of our next century. Together, we can. Madam Speaker, I stand before this honorable House with a much-changed budget speech presentation from what I had initially prepared months before. At that time, Madam Speaker, uncertainty had surrounded the global economic outlook for 2020, but still the global growth was forecast to be 3.3%, an increase on estimated 2.9% growth in 2019. Madam Speaker, this was the forecast initially reported by the World Economic Forum prior to the widespread threat of the coronavirus. Madam Speaker, we come to present. And one thing remains the same, Madam Speaker. Uncertainty still surrounds the global economic outlook. Madam Speaker, instead of forecast of growth, all forecasts point to a global economic downturn in the region of 3% or more, which, when you are dealing in trillions of dollars, Madam Speaker, is an unheard of decline beyond even those dark days of the financial crisis of 2008. It is more comparable, Madam Speaker, with the global depression of the 1930s. Madam Speaker, we have all watched in first sympathy and then growing concern as this virus, first reported in China, grew to a scale few of us would have reasonably imagined. While many of us watched in concern, we comforted ourselves falsely with the fact that it was a world away in China. And like other viruses of the past, would not affect our daily lives much. We all learned very quickly, Madam Speaker, that this was not like any other virus that has come before, and the interconnectivity of global travel and trade that has so facilitated growth was the very means by which this virus spread so rapidly. We watched, Madam Speaker, with a growing sense of inevitability as our region's traditional tourism markets were caught seemingly unprepared for the devastation of the virus. As they race to take extreme measures to halt the spread of the virus and protect their people. Unprecedented curfews, lockdowns, and international travel bans became the norm. Entire economies ground to a halt, and governments moved to enact drastic fiscal and monetary expenditure measures to protect lives and to provide income for millions of persons forcibly unemployed due to coronavirus. Government orders to stay at home and to provide relief to businesses to ensure that business activity could pick up as quickly as possible after the lockdown period had ended. It was uncertain for how long the lockdowns would last, and most were extended well beyond initial forecasts. Madam Speaker, the economic losses were calculated to be immense, with the dollar value of the economy of the European and US economies not expected to reach back to 2019 levels for several years. While the virus has seemingly peaked in the European nations, it has by no means disappeared, and most countries are slowly easing restrictions, balancing the health fears with the harsh reality of non-functioning economies. Madam Speaker, the future remains unclear. Countries are naturally cautious over the reopening of borders and the lifting of travel bans, coupled with the slow easing of restrictions. Economic activities is likely to remain low for the immediate future, while, Madam Speaker, growth is expected to return to the major economies somewhere in 2021, including the United Kingdom and the European Union countries, along with the USA. It is an uncertain forecast. The situation has shown the virus cannot be predicted, and the reopening of the economies may cause a second or even third wave without the surety of a vaccine. Madam Speaker, this brings with it the strong possibility that instead of growth next year, there may be further economic turmoil in the global economy. This will have ramifications of these countries' ability not only to maintain their own fiscal and monetary measures, but their ability to help less wealthy countries, further exacerbating the economic crisis globally. Madam Speaker, even more critical for us is the health of the UK economy and the ability to maintain their fiscal and monetary interventions to stabilize the economy. They have been providing aid not only to their own residents, but to other countries across the world, including our region. They are not only major tourist market for many countries in the region, but also a significant provider of aid during this crisis, both directly and through regional and international institutions. the ability to continue to provide this aid is dependent on the health of the economy, and that remains clouded in uncertainty. Madam Speaker, that being said, my government has been given the highest assurance that Montserrat will continue to be a priority and that indeed assistance will always be forthcoming. We are in continuous dialogue with the United Kingdom government on the type of assistance we require to navigate the turbulent waters caused by this virus. Madam Speaker, while the coronavirus dominates the news, Brexit has taken the back burner, but it is front and foremost on this administration's agenda and the economic consequences that the United Kingdom and consequently Montserrat may have to endure because of it. My government have discussions with UK officials on this issue and how to minimize the impact on our programs on the ground, and we will continue this discourse in the new fiscal year as Montserrat cannot be disadvantaged. Madam Speaker, while the UK has legally left the European Union, my government has obtained assurance that we will continue to benefit under the EDF 11 program to its completion in 2022. Furthermore, it is my government's intention to work with the UK and the EU and our fellow OT countries on how Montserrat may continue to benefit from a relationship with the European Union going forward. My government is also exploring options on how to utilize Brexit to further increase the flow of aid and trade between the UK and Montserrat. Outside of the concerns and opportunities presented by Brexit and the UK and coronavirus, tension between China and the USA remains high, and the ongoing trade war remains a significant geopolitical issue. The economic health of China, as the world's second largest economy and the biggest trader, has implications for the world economy. The trade tensions with the United States, coupled with the significant contractions in economies due to the coronavirus, has seen China's growth decelerate by its most significant margin since the world financial crisis in 2008. Overall production and exports are down, which has knocked on effects on large multinationals across the globe. Other major Asian economies are expected to see a steep decline due to the spread of the virus and the impact this will have on trade and production in the region. Madam Speaker, continuous issue with fuel in terms of availability and prices, for which we have little control, is why my government is continuing to pursue investments in alternate sustainable energy sources, which will provide a much-needed buffer to any global upheaval. This government intends to monitor and manage as much as it's able the global issues that will impact on Montserrat. But we are also focused on taking advantage of any opportunities that present themselves on the international market to propel Montserrat's growth and development after this crisis has passed. Madam Speaker, I now turn to the regional context. As with the global economy, the original outlook for our fellow Eastern Caribbean Council Union countries was positive, with the ECCB estimating growth in 2020 to be around 3.2% for the currency union, collectively. Fast forward, Madam Speaker, and the currency union as a whole is projected to see record decline in economic activity. Madam Speaker, individual countries may have seen significant declines in economic output in a single year due to natural disasters. But there was always the almost certainty that as the country's recovery machinery was engaged, that growth would return. There was no such certainty, Madam Speaker, in the situation the region now finds itself. Tourism, by far the most significant sector in most of our regional neighbors, has been decimated. This has caused hotels, restaurants, taxi and tour operators, tourism-related businesses to close down, some even permanently. Madam Speaker, the resultant collapse in revenue has left most of the region's countries without a fiscal space to meet their basic expenditure, such as salaries, much less extend any meaningful COVID-19 related relief packages. This has led to some reaching out to international agencies such as the IMF for loans, reversing swiftly the painful but proud progress many in the region had made to decrease their debt burdens. And Speaker, fortunately for some, due to programs such as the Citizens by Investment and others by implementing fiscal rules, have been able to call down on their reserves to meet the shortfall in revenue and to extend relief programs to businesses and residents. This has helped to buffer the economic implications of closing borders and implementing curfews. Madam Speaker, if tourism does not recover for 12 to 18 months, as some forecasts are suggesting, it may very well cause further fiscal tightening and economic distress. Cautiously good news, Madam Speaker, is that some countries are taking steps to slowly reopen their borders as the cases of COVID-19 within continued to decline. Obviously, this reopening comes with strict guidelines and are dependent on the restrictions not only easing in the tourism market, but tourism being willing and able to travel to our destinations. Furthermore, Madam Speaker, reopening comes with a very high risk of reintroducing a second wave of coronavirus in these countries. As the virus is much more widespread in the European and North American countries, it's a difficult health socio-economic balance that our region is trying to strike. Madam Speaker, if you pardon my language, it is a situation where they are damned if they do and damned if they don't. Madam Speaker, even the countries in the region with commodity-based industries, they too are severely impacted. Due to the general decline in demand, but also to historical low fuel prices, has caused fiscal challenges to all of our commodity-producing neighbors. The unpredictability of future demand and the external factors that determine prices also leaves the timeline of recovery for these countries in doubt. Madam Speaker, it paints a gloomy picture for our region. But we must never forget that we as a region have have survived many, many challenges, both man-made and natural. And we have always persevered. And, Madam Speaker, I firmly believe that this time will be no different. We have seen our financial institutions and utility companies across the region put moratoriums on payments and disconnections in place without prompting by their governments, as they realized we were all in this together, as businesses and people were desperate for relief. Even in the midst of crisis, many of our regional governments have seen opportunity to change and improve, for change and improvement. Many of them have already set up groups and programs to come up with innovative strategies and initiatives to revive and revamp the economies post-COVID-19, using the opportunity, as it were, to think differently and do better. Montserrat is seated at this table of new ideas. Madam Speaker, what can I say about the state of Montserrat's economy that the ordinary man on the street does not know? We have all seen it and felt it at varying degrees. Usually, this is the part of the budget speech where I detail the sectors that will grow. But as of today, Madam Speaker, growth in any sector is unlikely. It was with a sense of inevitability that we watched as COVID-19 spread across the world, knowing it was only a matter of time before it reaches our shores. We put plans in place, and my government reached out to our donor partners long before our first case was reported to seek assistance in the management of COVID-19, both on the health and economic side. Madam Speaker, my government took the unnecessary but difficult steps to curtail the spread of the virus, but it was not without a cost. The government knew this and was already in discussion with the United Kingdom about the assistance that would be necessary under various scenarios. Although necessary, my government knew that there would be economic hardship due to the shutdown and curfews necessary to protect our people. We first were able to confirm the continued payment of salaries to all civil servants and statutory body workers. This, Madam Speaker, was no small thing, as these workers represent a significant portion of our workforce and are critical contributors to the overall Montserrat's economy. That being said, my team in the Ministry of Finance and the Statistics Department were able to put forward forecasts and evidence showing significant declines across all sectors of the Montserrat economy based on the length of the shutdown and the prevalence of COVID-19 on the island. This was basis for the initial £2.5 million that was provided by the United Kingdom government for local design relief efforts. Madam Speaker, while tourism may not be a significant part of our economy, as it is in our neighboring countries, it is still a sector of strategic interest and importance. More importantly, it provides a livelihood for a number of persons on the island and providing assistance for those businesses and persons involved in this. In this, the most impacted sector was of critical importance. This is why the first two of our relief programs were geared towards the industry, the salary support and the grant programs. Madam Speaker, based on the information gathered by the Office of the Premier and the forecast and impact assessment provided by the Ministry of Finance, my government further took the decision to expand the salary support to all businesses on Ireland. We understand that the steps we were taking to curb COVID-19 were having ramifications on not only the tourism industry, but all businesses, and sought to ensure that everyone, Madam Speaker, as many as possible, would have a source of income through the worst of the lockdown. Madam Speaker, we were also aware that for various reasons, some persons would not benefit from salary programs and put in place a wider social safety net program that allowed persons who would not normally benefit under the established program to benefit under this scheme. There were other programs outside of the direct relief ones, such as the food package program and initiatives spearheaded by the Ministry of Agriculture and Education. But my colleagues will go into those details in their presentation. Madam Speaker, all of these measures may have had the side benefit of shoring up some of the decline in the Montserrat economy, but that was never our intention and purpose. The protection of lives and the maintenance of our people's health were the main objectives of all of these programs. The economic concerns, while important, were secondary. Madam Speaker, now we must move away from the past and look towards the future and the efforts necessary to not only restart but revitalize the Montserrat economy. Every effort is and will be made to continue the implementation of all our capital projects, as this is critical. We have already started this with the continuation of the fiber optic project, as it is vital for resilience and development purposes. We are fully committed, Madam Speaker, to seeing all of the CIPRIG programs and our EU-funded programs being implemented this fiscal year. And much work has continued behind the scenes with the PMO and ministerial teams during COVID-19. This will not only provide jobs and provide a much-needed boost to the economy, but it will set the stage for the development path of my government that my government have committed itself to. Madam Speaker, the initiatives are not yet completed, and there are more to come. Some will be detailed further in this speech. Some will be detailed in the weeks and months to come. Suffice it to say, Madam Speaker, my government intends to explore several avenues for economic recovery and development through public sector facilitation and private sector development. This will be accomplished, Madam Speaker, by creating the facilitating environment in the public sector while investing and expanding Montserrat's capacity in ICT, renewable energies, or financial sector, agriculture, and manufacturing. It is my government's intention and resolve to navigate Montserrat through these turbulent economic and fiscal waters with every toil and resource available to it, both public sector, private sector, diaspora, and the input of every member of this House. The road not only to economic recovery, but economic transformation is long. But together, with the leadership of my government, it will be successfully traveled. Madam Speaker, the government of Montserrat for several months now has faced a unique set of economic, social, and health-related conditions that have put large sections of the island's economy into hibernation and impacted the course of society. And on the surface provided by the government, COVID-19 has impacted the world, and we have not been able to shelter from it. In order to provide fiscal support to the economy, the government provided DFID with a business case in late March 2020, requesting direct support, which resulted, Madam Speaker, as I said before, in additional £2.5 million being provided to tackle the crisis. This allowed my government to introduce a series of fiscal measures in April 2020, providing a raft of support to individuals and businesses to dampen the negative economic effect of COVID-19. The measures were supported and formally approved by Cabinet and by DFID. Excuse me. Madam Speaker, spent on fiscal measures has been swift, and the past 12 weeks we have seen an excellent take-up of the measures introduced, and spend is ahead of our expectation. For April and May, we have spent over $3.5 million in fiscal support. Further, we aim to spend 3.4 million EC before the end of June. That's a total of 6.9 million of fiscal support. In addition to this, Madam Speaker, we will engage the Cuban medical team for 3 months, starting in July at a cost of $1.4 million. This is a total spent of $8.3 million of COVID-19 support. Madam Speaker, I will highlight the main fiscal support measures that my government implemented and the cost of providing that support. To date, we have provided salary support, fiscal salary support to all businesses, including tourism-related businesses, of over $1.5 million, supporting 117 businesses and ensuring that over 460 persons remain in employment. By the end of June, my government will have provided over $2.3 million in salary support. This is much needed support to continuing paying staff and supporting families during the crisis. Further, Madam Speaker, we have provided direct grants up to a maximum of $10,000 to 74 businesses, up to a maximum of $10,000, Madam Speaker, to 74 businesses, supporting them in paying rent, utilities, and insurance costs. Total spent to the end of June will be just under $20,000. This direct fiscal support has ensured that businesses remain solvent and are able to continue through the crisis. The introduction of unemployment benefit during the crisis has provided direct support to over 1,000 people on island. My government has stepped in to provide needed benefit to support the people of Montserrat. To date, we have provided nearly $1 million in support, and by the end of June, we aim to allocate over $2.88 million. This is direct financial support to people to enable them to pay rent, food, and utilities, and to keep the economy of Montserrat going. Further, my government has provided food packages to over 807 households at a cost of $300,000, providing direct food support to those who are in need during lockdown. We have provided fiscal support to the agricultural sector to date of $338,000 to provide direct support to backyard gardens. We'll spend another $278,000 by the end of June. Further, we'll spend over $330,000 in educational support, procuring laptops for teachers and pupils who cannot afford to purchase such devices, enabling the transition to greater online distancing learning. Madam Speaker, my government has given direct COVID-19 support to health ministers, to the health minister, with some $350,000 being spent to refurbish the Golden Years home, retrofitting Magazine Memorial wards, and the purchase of PPEs, protection to provide PPEs to provide for medical staff. The Ministry of Health is now in the final stage of arranging medical support from Cuba, with 13 medical professionals being deployed for 3 months. This will provide a massive boost to a medical team who have overworked exceptionally well during the COVID-19 crisis, and will help us in preparing for any future potential recurrence of the COVID-19 virus. Overall, Madam Speaker, my government will spend $8.3 million EC dollars in responding to COVID-19. Madam Speaker, I now turn to the budget overview and highlights. Madam Speaker, this budget seeks to implement the main policies of my government. These were highlighted in our 2019 manifesto. The vote of confidence in the election has given my party the mandate from the people of Montserrat to pursue the following agenda. Rebuild the economy by negotiating additional funding from our traditional funders, while at the same time seek foreign direct investment. Include attracting light manufacturing that can add value to the thousands of pounds of natural resources which go to waste annually. Expedite implementation of approved projects for which funds are earmarked to immediately put people back to work. See us collaborating with private sector to allow the reinvestment of profits on a tax-free basis, as long as these profits are plowed back into the business. We promise to encourage and assist retirees to explore opportunities to utilize their financial and other resources to develop small enterprises. We promise to continue to pursue modernization of the public sector so that first-class service can be offered to the general public. We promise to ensure green spaces and community centers are used effectively by our children, youth, and seniors. We promise to release the creativity of our youths by allowing them to be part of the development process and by rewarding young innovators, and reconnect government with people and restore the spirit of trust that binds the people to government. Madam Speaker, I wish to highlight how my government will seek to move to introduce those policies for the benefit of all on Montserrat, but not forgetting how we will tackle the impact of COVID-19. Madam Speaker, the theme for this budget is building Montserrat economy in a digital age. Building Montserrat economy in a digital age. Madam Speaker, the world has entered the fourth industrial revolution, a new economy based on innovations that disrupt conventional business models. Artificial intelligence and Internet of Things, and Internet Things, 3D printing, drones, quantum computing, cloud storage, and more. These are transforming the world's economy. As we know it, Montserrat must leap forward and embrace the paradigms if we are to prosper and become self-sufficient. Therefore, Madam Speaker, we are committed to the use of information technology in all areas of our development. To this end, we will seek to leverage the improved bandwidth and connectivity we'll have with this installation of subfiber optic link, which is due for completion in summer. Madam Speaker, the Department of Information Technology and e-government service, DICE, has progressed terrestrial fiber optic connectivity, where all of the off-campus government departments will be connected to the main data center at government headquarters via a combination of underground and overhead fiber optic cables. The fiber connectivity between government and MVO data centers also allows for redundant data storage and replication of essential data and services in multiple locations. The government of Montserrat secured approximately $16 million from DFID to implement this project, the subfiber optic project, to increase the resiliency of the island with regard to the threat from hurricanes. This is a major accomplishment which will result in Montserrat being reconnected to the international subsea community's grid. This, which will result in Montserrat being connected to the international subsea communication grid. Despite the impacts of COVID-19, Madam Speaker, the project has made considerable progress over these last few months, meaning that work is due to complete by August 2020. This is a major technological and symbolic landmark, as it is the last utility to be reinstated following the volcanic crisis. What this means in real terms, Madam Speaker, is that government, business, and consumer in Montserrat will be able to access superfast broadband access to transform their operations with digital interactions and online service. Across our capital investment, we will also be leveraging the opportunities presented by new technology and connectivity. We are establishing a new task force to maximize the public and private impact from our new subsea fiber optic cable, such as improvements to e-services and distance learning. We will be ensuring that our new national hospital is fully enabled for a digital future and opportunities in telemedicine, health information systems, and a digital health administration. Alongside our capital project to improve our tourism sites, beaches, and trails, we are also investing in our online and social media approach to ensure that we are 21st century in our outreach to the international visitors. Madam Speaker, the new media center in Davyhill now provides fit-for-purpose accommodation and state-of-the-art equipment for the Broadcasting Service, ZJB, and the Government Information Unit, GIU. Both ZJB and GIU are now positioned to deliver at a high level in 2020, with plans in place for a number of exciting programs. Madam Speaker, we will continue updating our legislation, ICT policies, and implementation plans in order to ensure that our businesses and citizens are empowered and protected in this new era. We will continue to engage our youth in order to unlock the extraordinary power of their creativity, intellect, as we seek to move from being net consumers of ICTs to being producers and creators. The challenges ahead are diverse and dynamic, and my colleagues will further elaborate on these in their presentation. Transportation, infrastructure, and access. This year, the government will continue to invest in our road development with support from the new DFID capital program. We'll commence phase 2 of the A1 road improvement projects. We are progressing with the design and procurement of a new hot mix plant, which can support the improvements in road condition, width, and safety for key sections of our road network for those who live, work, and holiday in Montserrat. As part of the terrestrial construction works of the fiber optic project, we have invested to install the additional docking requirement for for main utilities at the same time as installing the fiber optic cable, such that we do not need to dig up the road twice, and therefore limiting disruptions to the public and roadside businesses. This has been progressed in so far as possible during the COVID-19 crisis. Nothing is perhaps more important, Madam Speaker, to the access and growth of a small island nation than the presence of a fit-for-purpose port facility for both cruise and cargo operations. Government have secured just over £2.1 million for the UK Caribbean Investment Fund, from the UK Caribbean Investment Fund, $14.4 million, $14.4 million, and the EU EDF 11 program $7 million for the first phase of this port project. We're confident that we can deliver a significant change in our maritime access, stretching an open hand to the visitor economy and shipping market to a much greater degree. That is why, Madam Speaker, I am proud to announce that this government, having now completed preliminary design for the new port, will be proceeding to the detailed design and construction phase of this project this year. Significant progress has been made over the last few months to maintain momentum and to move through the necessary procurement steps. The project will not only provide a new 130-meter jetty to accommodate improved cargo operations, but it will enable for the first time the docking of small cruise vessels which currently must wait out at sea, whilst ferrying passengers to our shores via small tenders. In leading this key project forward, the project team and the PMO have engaged with cruise captains and senior industry representatives on these plans, and have received universal positive feedback about the future potential in the small medium cruise ship sector, such that it improves visitor experience, economic impact for Montserrat, whilst maintaining an appropriate focus on quality rather than quantity tourism. As well as these direct benefits, the new facility will significantly protect the current jetty, which will remain in operations throughout construction and into the future. It will also dredge the existing jetty area to reinstate the roll-on, roll-off facility there. This will mean that our ferry, small cargo vessels, the police launch, will experience much less frequent downtime due to wave action and provide a level of opportunity for service providers. Madam Speaker, the impact upon the environment is at the core of this project. We will minimize impact upon our reef system and bat cave network. And we are also working with the fishery sector to ensure that appropriate accommodations are made to enable their continued sustainable fishing off our shores. The public will see visible actions later this year, while with the completion of the geotechnical investigation and the mobilization of the design-build contractor. We have garnered broad market interest to maximize the benefit of this project for all Montserrat people. And having kept momentum on the project throughout the COVID-19 crisis, we look forward to making further announcements on the project in due course. Madam Speaker, as well as improvements to our maritime access, we are investing in the improvement of our access through progressing the project to refurbish the runway at the John A. Osborne Airport. This project will renew the pavement surface, improve surface friction, and maintain the integrity of the airfield to ensure continued long-term safety and reliability. At the completion of this project, it is envisaged that the airport will maintain its aviation compliance certification through ASI, provide the public with greater confidence in our air operations, and lay the foundation for future operations in improved air access. The project has also retained on track throughout COVID-19, with the issuance of the construction tender and works are scheduled to begin early November 2020. Beyond the runway, Madam Speaker, we'll also construct a new air traffic control tower in order to meet the modern regulatory requirements and to improve accommodations for air traffic control team. We'll also increase airport security, improve administration accommodations, provide suitable parking facilities, and incorporate renewable energy systems at the airport. Madam Speaker, air and sea access and connectivity continues to be an important enabler for the economic development of Montserrat. Cabinet last year approved the access strategy with the two broad principles: one, owned ferry service, and the implementation of Twin Otter service to Montserrat. I am pleased to indicate that work is still ongoing, despite the impact of COVID-19, to consolidate the requirements for air and sea access, and by the final quarter of 2021, the market is currently being engaged to provide the government of Montserrat with the options and costings to make this forward. Madam Speaker, in the era of ferry pricing and concessions, significant discounts have been made available to the regular Montserrat to Antigua route. In particular, sporting, cultural, and school groups, having completed a simple application process, can now travel on a ferry to Antigua at these reduced rates. Madam Speaker, we are now encouraging these exchange programs and infusion of talents. At times, unfavorable weather conditions as well as the COVID-19 outbreak have caused disruptions to travel plans, and we all take this opportunity to extend appreciation to the local community and visitors alike for their support and understanding of the Access Division as we continue to improve connectivity to Montserrat for our future development. Security. Madam Speaker, the Royal Montserrat Police Service is responsible to detect, prevent crimes, and cover crime management through community engagement and partnership, safety management, road internal and external border security, and improve efficiency and service delivery. During 2019, the service has been significantly improved. During 2019, the service has been significant improvements in service delivery, and these have been supported by funding to achieving best evidence machine, automatic finger identification system, new bus, and a new road painting machine. The service has been able to train a number of staff to establish the child safety unit. It is further pleasing to see that serious crime reported has decreased from 143 to 135 cases, and minor offenses from 827 to 735. This support during COVID-19 was exceptional in ensuring the safety of the island and providing support to health. During 2020-21, Madam Speaker, the service is looking to a number of service improvements, developing and implementing strategies to build information sharing between agencies, a youth crime management strategy for incorporation into national youth policy, and increased community policing initiatives. The Financial Crime Investigation Unit is now fully staffed and is now based in a different building from the Royal Montserrat Police Service. The focus of the unit going forward will be to develop and implement a public education and awareness program, participate in the CFTF programs, including manual evaluation, and to achieve Egmont membership. Procurement. Madam Speaker, the Procurement Department is for the first time in 2 years fully staffed and now has 2 fully qualified MCIPS procurement professionals. In addition, the government is providing financial support to the other 2 members of the team to study for the MCIPS qualification. Both these staff members are experienced Montserrat civil servants. In December, we agreed a comprehensive procurement improvement program based on a CDB global assessment tool known as the MAPS, MPS, MAPS assessment. The program also addresses recommendations made by our internal audit service. In endorsing the programs, the CDB noted that Montserrat procurement was now punching well above the weight in the region. We have also refocused the work of the procurement department to prioritize arrangements for contracting with local providers. Comments raised by people attending a series of supplier engagement forums are now leading to changes in practice that are encouraging for bidders and diversifying our supplier base. We now make far greater use of a simple quote system, and this is receiving positive feedback and interest from local people. The procurement department has also been given responsibility for developing a control management framework for the government as a whole. This will include criteria for determining performance measures. The level and frequency of contract management required, and contractual terms and conditions. This is a major piece of work which will be carried out by the department alongside the implementation of the MAPS improvement program. Madam Speaker, Small Capital Assessment Fund, SCAF. SCAF, Madam Speaker, is a fund which provides an avenue for procuring ministries and departments with critical operational assets which value on $250,000. It is a key way to finance government of Montserrat assets. And during the financial year 2019-2020, $1.8 million was allocated to the fund. Madam Speaker, the funds are allocated using a vigorous assessment process guided by the government's policy agenda. And that fiscal year, every effort is made to ensure all ministries that make a submission benefit from the funds. But as in all things, Madam Speaker, critical needs must be prioritized. This is why last year, education and health were the top beneficiaries of the SCAF program. Furthermore, the police service, the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Communication and Works also benefited with the purchase of critical pieces of equipment. Madam Speaker, this government intends to fund the SCAF with another $1.8 million in 2020-2021. We lay down the guidelines for its allocation to the ministries and departments. Those departments which we deem having the needs, the most critical needs, and which will be most beneficial to the wider Montserrat. The focus for 2020-21 will be the pandemic response and further preparation for hurricanes. Tourism. Madam Speaker, visitor numbers increased by 14% in 2019 to 20,156 over 2018. This figure represents the first time in the active volcanic era that our arrival numbers have topped the 20,000 mark. Cruise arrivals increased by 59% from 4,294 passengers in 2018 to 6,800 passengers in 2019. This is a significant increase for this segment, and we will continue to develop this area with a focus on small cruise lines, which allows us to manage our growth in a sustainable manner. There was also a marginal increase in yacht calls to our shores. One of the more important metrics, visitor expenditure rose. One of the more important metrics, was that visitor expenditure rose to 27 million, or just over 1% increase over 2018. This was an encouraging start to our delivery of the tourism strategy before the huge and negative impact that the COVID-19 virus has had on the tourism industry in Montserrat and indeed throughout the region and the world. Madam Speaker, the vision for the tourism sustainable development, the vision for tourism is sustainable development through quality tourism. This must be embraced in the way we market Montserrat as a tourist destination. Even during this crisis, key to this is our product development, which seeks to ensure that there is a solid foundation of quality products and services that would have a positive influence on the overall destination experience once we open for business. Work has begun on projects being funded by the European Union, namely the rehabilitation of the island's trail network. 3 of the 7 trails identified have been enhanced and access made easier. Those have an affinity with the outdoors. In fact, hikers can now visit and see the ruins of the cottage on the Cot Trail. We are also upgrading our incredible unspoiled beaches, with improvement works at Woodlands Beach already providing a better experience for visitors. These improvements will continue across a number of our beaches, together with improved tourism and directional signage. Madam Speaker, a potential site in Little Bay has been earmarked for the construction of the much anticipated volcanic interpretive centers. Survey work would commence in the coming month. The professional training offered to our tourism stakeholders is paramount. And with the advent of COVID-19, new protocols need to be observed as we deliver service to our customers. A series of training initiatives will be launched later this month, with a focus on housekeeping, tour guiding, taxi operations, and customer service, all of which would incorporate best practice to ensure visitor safety, comfort, and security. There would also be social media management training to ensure that all stakeholders are better able to manage their customers' relationship. In addition, there would be also training for local artisans and the areas of presentation and packaging of souvenir items. Another EU-funded project in the development of a new destination website. This project is underway and is expected to be launched at the end of July this year. Madam Speaker, an increase in digital marketing campaigns targeting outdoor and eco enthusiasts, travelers, visiting friends and relatives, seek a wellness retreat and Caribbean travelness, hosting journalists and bloggers to enhance destination traditions and social media presence, and building and strengthening relationships with the travel trade in North America, Europe, and the Caribbean. But Madam Speaker, what does the future hold for tourism? It is undeniable that COVID has dealt a serious blow to Montserrat's tourism sector. For the first quarter 2020, our stayover visitors' arrivals fell by 12%, while cruise arrivals fell by 20.3%, an overall decline of 14%. And while visitors' expenditure increased slightly, just under 1% for the period, with the borders being closed for close to up to 3 months, the revenue stream for all tourism stakeholders has dried up for the short term. Madam Speaker, the way in which we interact with customers and each other will certainly change. However, the essence of the tourism strategy provides a solid roadmap for the growth and development of the sector, so that when travel resumes, our stakeholders would be in a good position to benefit from the new business opportunities. Trade and business development. Madam Speaker, this administration, on assuming office late last year, has transferred the trade function from the Ministry of Agriculture to the Office of the Premier. This strategic move will bring about streamlining operations and services for local businesses. It is this government's aim to provide increased fiscal incentives and capacity development building activities to micro and small businesses. Support to the business community is paramount to Montserrat's overall development. The duty-free concessions initiative facilitated by the Trade and Quality Infrastructure Division continues to attract much interest over the last year. Businesses which benefited from the assistance amassed a total investment inflow of approximately $1.2 million, or 60% of these businesses were startups, while the remaining 40% were seeking to further expand businesses and the operations. There were also business support services which brought together a number of our key stakeholders and industry specialists as a means of educating and advising the business community on how business can attain and maintain compliance with local business enabling agencies. Contractors wanting to learn about GOM's tendering process also benefited from a separate specialized training, enabling them to be more proficient in the submission of competitive bids. Madam Speaker, the provision of essential information is critical when it comes to making business decisions. Knowing where to go and who to talk to can significantly help to reduce any hassles associated with doing business in Montserrat. Apart from capacity building, the development of Doing Business Guide has been talked about for some time. And during this upcoming financial year, we will be able to provide that support toolkit to the business community as a first step in a series of other support schemes. The Trade Division will take on increased role to provide business training and to expand its trade function. In addition, Madam Speaker, my government's short to medium-term plan is to move beyond focusing solely on domestic businesses and to seek to attract investors. And in the interim, the division will serve as the focal point for persons seeking information in relation to all kinds of businesses, business development on Montserrat. Madam Speaker, Montserrat cannot continue to depend on granting aid for its future development. It is for this reason that my administration is in discussion for the setting up of an investment promotion and tourism agency to assist us in attracting appropriate and sustainable investment to the island. Government reform, institutional development programs, the grid. Madam Speaker, the vision of Government of Montserrat's reform and institutional development program is to invest in our people and to enable a thriving Montserrat. The critical part of this vision is that it focuses on our people. This GRID, which is a three-year program, has been established as a transformational change program with people as its core. The total allocated by DFID for this program is $12.25 million. With this people-centric focus in mind, the GRID program has been established to deliver change in 3 main areas, with good governance cutting across these areas. Enabling a better public service. Continuing to enable and support the open, transparent, and effective and efficient management of our finances, and enabling an effective business environment and investment climate. In the next 12 months, GRID is seeking to build trust and encouragement and encourage a collaborative environment across the government of Montserrat. In addition to establishing this environment to enable sustainable transformation change, it will also be pursuing some quick wins across all of the 3 key change areas and developing good governance. The climate that has resulted from COVID-19 global pandemic will influence the scope and priorities within the program, with aspects such as enabling remote working and developing our digital system expected to an integral part of the success of GRID. Delivery patterns, namely GPI and CDB, will be supporting the government of Montserrat and coordinated by GRID to deliver aspects such as building strategic capacity profiles, building a holistic leadership and development program, understanding how we can assess the contribution of the individual in our workplace, process efficiency and effectiveness across key areas, such as whistleblowing, policy, and commission restructuring, and supporting improvements in PFM and governance. During 2021, Madam Speaker, there will be a number of new HR initiatives and investments to support the further development of a modern human resource function. HR will be looking to further develop the job evaluation process with the introduction of 360-degree evaluation, developing new grievance procedures, and the leadership and development program for senior officers will continue. Madam Speaker, during 2021 fiscal year, pension reforms will be a key area moving forward. And my government is in discussion with various stakeholders in a view to make change to the Pension Act. New legislation is required to address the ever-growing liability of pensions. Action now will ensure pension for the future. The key improvements are for HR. The key improvement for HR will be the long-awaited implementation of the Human Resource Information System, namely InSync. InSync has commenced. This will see the introduction of personal management and attendance and leave modules. Due to the people-focused nature of this program, it is envisaged that there will be some delay from the coronavirus outbreak as civil servants' operations are focused on dealing with emergency issues. Planned workshops and stakeholder engagements have been postponed due to restrictions on gatherings. However, these will be rescheduled during the new and alternate means as soon as the medical situation calms down. Statistical development to improve decision-making. Madam Speaker, the statistical department within the Ministry of Finance has progressed well over the past year with a number of staff returning back from further their knowledge and improving their professionalism. We now have a full staff contingent as we move into a challenge year, with a number of important reviews being carried out, which will aid and be the foundation of future decision-making. The National Strategy for Development of Statistics coordinates and harmonizes official statistics at the national level and involves and empowers all national stakeholders to work collaboratively in the process of production of a promotion of the use of official statistics, of and promotion of use of official statistics. This, with support from our national partners, will move towards the formulation of the strategy over the coming year. Madam Speaker, the results of the 2018 labor force census are now being finalized. The census focused on key socioeconomic and demographic statistics covering the resident population of Montserrat. Other socioeconomics and demographic analysis are ongoing and will provide key inputs into economic and demographic forecasting. We plan to further develop over the coming year a dynamic website for the National Statistical Office to disseminate statistics. Working with the development partners, particularly with Statistics Canada, we have built a viable website for the purpose of disseminating the department's statistical products. The website was soft launched in October 2019, and work continues to further develop the website. Madam Speaker, we are in discussion with the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the OECS, in migrating to an automated system which captures all the requisite information about the travel at source, and then share this with the receiving countries. Barbados is now piloting this facility with region rollout in 2022. Finalization of the environmental statistic report should be published by the end of the current financial year. This report, the first of its kind for Montserrat, documents several of the key environmental information for Montserrat. Madam Speaker, the Standard of Living Household Budgetary Survey has just started. This household survey will yield a gold mine of data and information that will be widely useful. It will provide key socioeconomic and demographic information that will positively impact the planning process across the public sector. Further, it will greatly assist in businesses and investment decisions. It is expected that the survey will run for a total of 6 months, and a sample of 800 households will be interviewed. A key finding report focused on the major indicators that can be generated from the results of the survey will be prepared and finalized by May 2021. Social Security. Madam Speaker, early in this year, my government laid on the table of this Honorable House the most recent actual review of the Montserrat Social Security. The report provides stark reading and highlights the difficult financial position that the fund finds itself in. This government does not shy away from making harsh decisions. The findings are stark, and we are going to make those decisions to improve the fund's viability. Madam Speaker, the issues highlighted by the actual report are: the funds has been in deficit for the past 8 years, with no contribution rate increase and minimal benefit reforms. We are now at a tipping point, Madam Speaker, and if no action is taken immediately, then in less than 6 years, Madam Speaker, the fund will not be able to meet its obligations. Madam Speaker, there are no quick fix solutions to the problem which we face and which the funds face. But action clearly needs to be taken. And my government will be discussing urgently with a number of stakeholders a series of interventions which will include increasing the contribution rate to 11% in 2020 and adopt a schedule of increase that would take it to 15% by 2025. We will propose an increase in the wage ceiling to at least $4,500 per month. We will seek to reduce the maximum age invalidity pension percentage from 60 to 55%. We will seek to increase the age at which reduced age pensions are payable and or eliminate early reduced age pension. And we will revise the formula for calculating average insurable earnings used for age grants to the one now in place for age benefits. Madam Speaker, it is absolutely critical that measures are put in place to safeguard the social security funds so that generations following can live comfortable in their old age. Madam Speaker, this government fully supports, energy and utility. Madam Speaker, this government fully supports the quest to reduce the island's carbon footprint and the need to develop indigenous renewable energy sources. We will continue to lead on the uptake of more efficient and effective energy usage. And this is why we are promoting own use reduction schemes and proof of concept leads with the pilot study on the adoption of electric vehicles. We are also working with the Montserrat Utilities Services, the Montserrat Utility Limited, and other stakeholders to wean the island off fossil fuel and to transition to greener, more environmentally sustainable and resilient technologies. We are pushing ahead the public lighting improvements project. The first project, public lighting, involves replacing all the street lights in the first instance along with this designated government of Montserrat compound external lightings with LED lights. This initial target will be completed by the end of this month and will save the government significant sums on its annual electricity bills. This work is funded by the EU, funding under the Ministry of Finance. Madam Speaker, our government is working to reduce the long-term cost of electricity generation and to minimize the impacts on the environment from diesel-generated power with the implementation of the Montserrat 750 kilowatt solar PV plus battery storage microgrid project. This project builds on the previous 250 kilowatt solar photovoltaic plan, taking the islands to 1 megawatt being generated from renewable energy source. This increase will support more electricity generation for normal day-to-day usage. However, in power outages, the Johnny Osborne Airport, the Glendon Hospital, the Disaster Management Coordination Agency, and the Silver Hill antenna will be served by the battery reserve for up to 36 hours. The work is ongoing and will be completed in the first quarter of 2020 financial year. This work is funded by the EU, funded under the Ministry of Finance. Madam Speaker, our government continues to support MOL in the completion of a long-term energy expansion plan in the form of an integrated resource plan completed in 2019. This plan looks at both the demand side and the supply side of electricity for the next 20 years for Montserrat. As a result of this plan, our government has secured funding from the EU to conduct a feasibility study to determine the actual potential of wind power development and integration for Montserrat. Our government understands its responsibility to lead, and leading we are. A project to conduct energy audits of all governments of Montserrat buildings is underway. The equipment required is on order, and the actual audits will be conducted by the Energy Department starting at the second quarter of 2020. This government recognizes that considerable investment has been made in the exploration of geothermal energy development, which yielded 2 functional wells. In fact, these wells were completed during our previous term in office. Exploration of the 3rd well was managed by DFID and is still incomplete. My government is not abandoning the prospect of harnessing geothermal power, but is aggressively exploring other forms of renewable energy in order to meet the country's long-term energy needs, while at the same time protecting our environment by further reducing our carbon footprints. A new energy task force has been assembled, as I said, to drive forward this agenda. Public Works and Maritime. Madam Speaker, it is the government's intention to secure a better deal and quality of life for all working people by promoting decent work at and above a living wage. We are intent on ensuring that the rights of workers on Montserrat are protected and promoted. With this in mind, Madam Speaker, we are receiving the Consolidated Labour Code 2012. So we are reviewing the Consolidated Labour Code 2012, which is 7 years old. The consolidation of legislation improves compliance with labour laws. It will address anomalies, further improve clarity, and better align our labour code with international standards in the interest of workers and employees alike. Having a minimum wage in place will ensure that workers on Montserrat are being fairly paid for the work they do. To this end, we will be continuing work with a view to introducing minimum wage legislation later in the year. This has now become a priority area following the COVID-19 crisis, and we must address the instances of extreme low-paid workers. Madam Speaker, we are moving forward with the implementation of the new driver's license system and vehicle licensing system. The new system will deliver multifunctional, functional, and machine-readable driver's license. It will also allow for online renewable and payment of vehicles and driver's license. The new system will afford drivers the option to register their vehicles with license plates, displaying numbers, letters, and symbols, which will allow for more personalized vehicle license plates, at a cost, of course. In the upcoming months, Madam Speaker, we will bring forward legislation to update our maritime laws. This update will ensure that Montserrat satisfies the International Maritime Organization, the IMO, Instrument Implementation Code, commonly referred to as the Triple One Code. Once enacted, Montserrat will be better able to meet its International Maritime Organization Convention obligations. Moreover, once the updates are in place, Montserrat will maximize the legal protections available to seafarers, shipping, environment, and the economy. Additionally, Madam Speaker, the updates will place us in a good position for an IMO audit of the UK and OTs that will take place in September of 2020. Education, community, and youth investment. Madam Speaker, the education system of Montserrat has seen its challenges and successes in past years. But we are now in a time of change. The development of our people must become a priority if we are to create a thriving economy, if we are to enhance our agricultural sector, if we are to develop our tourism product, if we are to ensure that Montserrat is ready for the future. Madam Speaker, we must improve the development of our students and community to ensure we can deliver on the promises made here today. Education is the rock on which our society is built. We will no longer be the stone on which people stumble or fall. because we disobey, but rather the rock on which this house of Montserrat can and will be built. The education system on Montserrat has permanently evolved because of the impact of COVID-19. The coronavirus has resulted in us re-examining the manner in which we facilitate teaching and learning across all ages. The immediate immersion into e-learning has highlighted the need to review the ICT policy and its application to the education sector. Teachers, principals, and headquarters staff adjust to provide the basic level of education despite restrictions, and work is ongoing on the development of the national curriculum and school improvement plans. COVID-19 highlighted the varying needs of students, different learning styles, special needs, English as a second language, and the need for mental health support. Although we knew there were going to be some challenges, Madam Speaker, and the efforts are commendable, teachers and students rose to the occasion to support each other. Ministry staff and teachers supported development of our students and the future of Montserrat. The coming academic year will show the agility of the staff and ministry to respond to the varying demands of human development. The sector now turns its energies to the following areas: incorporating ICT at all levels to address the varying educational styles and needs while making a variety of supplemental resources more accessible. Developing an infrastructure master plan for the Montserrat Secondary School to define the future development of our students. Supporting differing learning styles and abilities, and inculcating vocational and technical education at all levels of our schools. Madam Speaker, the two key priorities in education are to raise the performance and academic competence of our students in primary education, measured by the attainment tests, and in secondary assessment by the CSEC performance. Both have seen a steady decline over the past decade. Literacy and numeracy need to become priorities in the development of our future. Civics and ICT must be incorporated in the national curriculum review, and we must strive to improve the abilities and imagination of our youth. Over the past 5 months, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Health has increased its effort to ensure we have safe schools and better conditions. Recent renovations include playgrounds being added to early childhood centers, repairs to fences and buildings, as well as remodeling of classrooms. Over the next year, several updates will be made to primary classrooms to complete the ICT programs and meet with new requirements for CXCE testings. Madam Speaker, the government is committed to long-term solutions to the country's need. And this need includes those of our children. To this end, Madam Speaker, government is not in the business of constructing temporary classrooms at the Montserrat Secondary School. We are now in the process of renovating blocks L and M so that they are structurally fit for continued use. This will take place in parallel with the renovation of the staff room and library spaces, as we continue to improve the physical conditions of the Montserrat Secondary School facility in a phased approach. Regional and international partners. Madam Speaker, education works collaboratively with a variety of regional and international entities to ensure quality of education is maintained, ensuring youth development in the community, the preservation of historical and traditionals, as well as the facilitation of sport development. Going forward, Madam Speaker, the Ministry will utilize its multi-sectorial framework to manage these many requirements. Montserrat has agreed to support the extension of the current OECS education sector strategy. This program provides support for the enhancement of key areas jointly agreed as priorities in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. Most notable, this partnership has resulted in financial and technical support for the development of a framework for early childhood education development. The Ministry of Education is benefiting greatly from partnership and support facilitated by the Caribbean Development Bank. This has been enabled by the local office, the Basic Needs Trust Fund. Most notably, Madam Speaker, our early childhood practitioners are currently enrolled in an academic access program which will allow them future enrollment in an associate degree in education for early childhood. The other project is a Steel Band Revival program which involves the training of instructors and students on best practice in musicmanship, whatever that means. UNICEF has been our most consistent international partner through their office based in Barbados. Their financial and technical support has resulted in a $250,000 for the national curriculum development, child-friendly school initiatives, positive behavior management training, Convention on the Rights of the Child, and programming and disaster risk reduction strategies. In the coming years, support will assist with the revision of the special education and inclusion policy, strengthening of data collection mechanisms, and teacher training and updated curriculum. Library services. Madam Speaker, in 2018, Montserrat became the 100th member of the United Nations Science and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. Since then, Madam Speaker, minimal action has occurred to advance this opportunity for technical and financial support toward areas of education, technology, heritage, and culture. Recent discussion with the Montserrat National Trust and the Secretary General of Antigua highlight Montserrat's missed opportunities. Further work is needed and will be done with UNESCO and Montserrat National Trust as we expand the services of the museum. Many in the community do not realize that library services include museum services, cinema services, and archives. And these elements of the portfolio will be enhanced through staffing changes, collaborative initiatives, and programming. This year, the Montserrat Public Library has refreshed its operations and expanded their services and programs. We saw the reintroduction of the Homework Health program, and reintroduction of reading support programs in the primary schools. Their role will continue to evolve to support the need for education reform and support in differential learning. Through partnership with civil society groups, we saw the renovation of school libraries at the primary schools. This project will be completed in the first quarter of this new fiscal year, as well as the renovation of the long-awaited secondary school library. Madam Speaker, my government is committed to advancing the necessary laws, structures, and actions to bring the support to Ireland. This partnership cannot be undervalued in potential future impact on community development, history preservation, and cultural product improvement. Community and youth. The Department of Community, Youth and Sports has been a needed injection of excitement and community building to the Montserrat ecosystem. They are charged with creating and maintaining the enabling environment for young people and community to maximize the benefit of all residents. Whether it's their career service in the secondary school, traditional food classes, or rounders tournaments, the department continues to create synergies and island pride. We have seen significant increase in every deliverable and key performance indicator over the past year. The number of youth engaged in the HYPE program has surpassed the target of 50. But more importantly, Madam Speaker, 25% of these youths have transitioned to meaningful employment. They recognize an increased interest in technical and vocational areas, and as a ministry, we must work together to ensure that this becomes a culture. For the first time, the ministry hosted an internship element in which individuals enrolled part-time at the community college also gain part-time employment. This has worked well in increased accountability, but also development of more focused and well-rounded youth. In the area of career development, Madam Speaker, We saw the launch of an Air Cadet program in collaboration with the John A. Osborne Airport. The level of interest of resident youth in aviation shows us we have the ability to grow our people in industries needed to advance our economy. Sports. Madam Speaker, education has worked diligently to raise the profile and support of its sports and athletes. In 2019, we saw an increase in financial support to sports associations. Most notably, the local department focused on grassroots training and established consistent structure. For the first time, Cricket West Indies President, Mr. Ricky Sterrett, and Leeward Islands Cricket Board President Enoch Lewis visited Montserrat. This exchange resulted in consultant resources for field and pitch preparation and a commitment to explore supporting roles in regional tests and 2020 matches. Madam Speaker, while the Montserrat Football Association continued to invest in our youths, although not a government entity, this administration must recognize the significant investment it is making towards the development of football on Ireland. Special mention must be made to the 35-bed facility which has been constructed at Blake's football field. Madam Speaker, this vital piece of infrastructure will not only benefit football, but will also contribute towards building sports tourism on Montserrat. And we applaud the association for that venture. Agriculture. Madam Speaker, at the height of the coronavirus pandemic, countries were denied the benefit of purchasing essential and life-saving personal protective equipment to safeguard their frontline workers from contracting the virus. This action by major producing countries, Madam Speaker, highlighting the needs for regional countries to seriously and urgently embark on a food security strategy to prevent its people from dying of starvation in the eventuality of a global food shortage. Madam Speaker, the Department of Agriculture has embarked on a sustained food production drive to ensure year-round availability of local produce. At the same time, Madam Speaker, support is being provided to poultry and livestock farmers with a view towards encouraging growth in the poultry and livestock industry. Additionally, Madam Speaker, production and storage must go hand in hand. My administration is working with other stakeholders in seeking to solve the issue of waste due to the lack of storage facility on Ireland. But in the meantime, Madam Speaker, farmers and private sector must work together, establishing trust, which will result in us seeing more local produce on the shelves of local establishments. The ministry continues to work with GB Non-Native Species Secretariat to construct and review a biosecurity bill for Montserrat. This effort is in collaboration with stakeholders including Customs, Environmental Health, and Department of Agriculture, among others. Further detailed work will be carried out during the year to introduce key policies and legislation to cover climate change, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, and single plastic ban. Housing. Madam Speaker, this administration will explore public-private partnership for increasing the island's housing stock. We will continue to seek solutions to meet the demand for housing for persons in the middle-income groups and encourage those persons overseas to own a piece of this rock. Madam Speaker, in addition to private sector entities on Ireland and within the region, it is my government's intention to engage members of the diaspora, challenging them to invest in their homeland. In addition, Madam Speaker, to the incentives which are already in place We will seek to introduce others. If persons overseas will, if they invest in Montserrat, if this result in increased housing stock and job creation. If they decide to construct here, Madam Speaker, and build a housing stock, we'll provide additional incentive so that they can do so. Madam Speaker, under the CPRED program, my administration inherited 2 work streams designed to support intelligent future investment in social housing. They are an in-depth review of the current social housing model in order to generate improvements in effectiveness and efficiency. And secondly, Madam Speaker, commissioning a review of the designs of new social housing development to provide for the most vulnerable and to promote population growth and retention. Madam Speaker, it is our intention to expedite this, to ensure that these 2 pieces of work are expedited, with the expectation that DFID would provide funding support for social housing development in future program tranches. Healthcare. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Health and Social Services is on a path of building robust and transformative approaches, providing a better health and social system for Montserrat, which is integrated and equitable. We have embarked on an approach of development and change, exploring possibilities for innovative approaches to enhance the deliverables of health care on island. Fundamental to these changes, Madam Speaker, is a move towards permanent hospital accommodation, which is designed to further strengthen the ministry's provision of health services. Following on from where we left off in 2014, Madam Speaker, we have, in no uncertain term, identified the construction of a new hospital by this administration as our #1 priority. This island's long-awaited hospital project moved to design phase after the Ministry of Health and Social Services signed a contract with Article 25 for the preliminary design of our island's national hospital. This follows a successful concluded global competitive procurement process. Throughout the COVID-19 crisis, Madam Speaker, the PMO and the Ministry of Health team has continued to engage with the design team, providing key data, insights, and hosting stakeholders' briefing sessions to inform the eventual architectural design. Public health. Madam Speaker, on this path of fundamental change, the ministry has continued its operation and must be ready for any public health threat. This budget year being no exception, as it had to tackle the dengue threat by strengthening its surveillance mechanism. And Madam Speaker, as you are aware, COVID-19 has been declared a global pandemic. And as a result, the Ministry of Health had to establish a quarantine authority and implement new procedures in accordance with the Public Health Act. The government introduced several public health and suppression orders since March to help contain the spread of COVID-19. As a result of these prudent and proactive interventions, Madam Speaker, there are currently no known active cases of COVID-19 on island. But the population is still advised to remain vigilant and practice good hygiene, adopt appropriate social distancing measures, because a second wave could very well be on the horizon. I hope not. Air ambulance. The Ministry of Health and Social Services has obligations to ensure that our patients are being provided with optimal healthcare service at all times. And to this, we must continually explore avenues through which we can expand and optimize healthcare delivery for our patients on the ground and those we are transporting overseas. In some previous Medivac cases, Madam Speaker, receiving hospitals for various clinical and liability requirements require that we transfer patients on a proper and fit-for-purpose air ambulance. The Ministry of Health and Social Services has explored arrangements with airlines and in fact welcomed the arrival of St. Bart's executive from St. Bart's, which can provide medical evacuation services for critical ill patients from Montserrat to other countries with the specialist care that it needs. The Air Service Access Development for medical service links with the broader healthcare development and the new hospital so that we maximize and improve our healthcare services and outcomes, stabilizing our health systems now and for the future. Healthcare financing reform. Madam Speaker, a key component being healthcare finance reform within the Ministry of Health and Social Services. In this financial year, government will retender for a health economist consultancy that will build on the previous works. This is a key step in the ministry's roadmap to health financing reform. An analysis and work that has been done previously in the Ministry of Health and Social Services that will direct our health system and the population health planners towards a better footing and sustainable and quality provisions for the coming months and years, especially important to maximize on the new hospital when it comes online. Primary health care. Madam Speaker, primary health care is the branch of health service that covers a range of prevention, wellness, and treatment for common illnesses, and are organized under the guiding principle of equity, access, empowerment, community, self-determination, and intersectoral collaboration. The statistics show that the leading cause of death in Montserrat are diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and myocardial infarction and cancer of the prostate. This means that the government is keen to reverse the worrying trend. As a result, it is shifting its focus to the broad primary-centric model, which would ultimately see a change in the statistical health of the island in latter years. The ministry is implementing a myriad of programs and intensifying its efforts to reduce the onset of non-communicable diseases in the community through expanded workplace screening and stepping up its management of persons already identified with diabetes and hypertension. During this financial year, Madam Speaker, there will be an increase in the capacity of medical officers assigned to the health centers. This means that our busiest clinic, which is St. John's, will have a doctor providing service for more than 1 day per week, which is the current practice. This is in keeping with our government's desire to strengthen the provision of primary health care and reduce the reliance on the medical officers within the accident and emergency department at the hospital setting. Madam Speaker, Glenelg Hospital is in a position to offer enhanced service through the acquisition of endoscopy suite, which would enable us to start our visiting urology programs for the men and expand our cancer prevention support to men in our society. Madam Speaker, my government is also pleased to announce the launch of the new obstetrician and gynecological service through the full-time appointment of an obstetrician and gynecologist later this year. Madam Speaker, it has been established that early detection and treatment of cancer can reduce costs to government and save lives. To this end, Madam Speaker, we will be supporting the Ministry of Health in its screening programs for all kinds of cancer. Additionally, Madam Speaker, my government will support the Pink Ribbon Charity in its breast cancer screening program. I will also subsidize the cost of testing and treatment for prostate cancer in men and cervical cancer in women. Fiscal policy measures. Madam Speaker, government of Montserrat continues to do what it can without detriment to the much-needed revenue collection streams to extend or introduce programs that could benefit a wide cross-section of the community, or to promote commercial activities that can create employment and revenue for our people. GOM is currently in the process of reviewing, updating, and when necessary, extending some of the main concessionary programs that could benefit the people and the country by extension. For a number of years, Madam Speaker, there's a concession on Christmas barrels. Madam Speaker, my government has no intention of changing that. So we'll continue to offer concession on Christmas barrels to persons during the Christmas season. This is an ongoing program for years, and it will continue, Madam Speaker. Custom duties and consumption tax, Madam Speaker, on decoration of Christmas lights. The Office of the Premier again spearheaded some efforts last year to promote the Christmas spirit. My government will again support the program that exempted from the payment of customs duty and consumption tax the import of Christmas trees and other Christmas decorations. This program was well received and again gave rise to the 2019 Christmas lighting competition, a reintroduction of what happened years before, promoted by the Department of Tourism. The competition attracted participation from a number of businesses and households, and some were able to win handsome prizes. Madam Speaker, SRO number 41 of 2014 and number 29 of 2017, returning menstruation concession programs. These two orders, Madam Speaker, continue to promote an incentive for menstruations living abroad to return home permanently. My government is currently reviewing the programs, and they will be merged into one to allow for easier management and efficient administration. Madam Speaker, exemption order number 45 of 2017, my government continues to support the work that was started by the Corkhill Reunion Committee and other interest persons in the efforts to preserve, restore, and we hope to eventually reoccupy their properties in Zone C. Madam Speaker, this is one of my government's priorities, that we should, in fact, try to rehabilitate some of those abandoned houses in those areas. The villages include Corkhill, Wakes, Foxes Bay, Richmond Hill, and Delvins. The program continues to exempt them from custom duties and consumption tax on all materials imported for the sole use of building or repairing any structures. We are currently working to see what else can be done to promote further incentive to encourage others to invest in preserving and restoring properties in these areas. Customs and duty consumption tax property development. SRO number 15 of 2018. Madam Speaker, my government will continue to encourage property developers to take full advantage of the program which was introduced in 2012, but further modified in 2015. The last program under SRO number 50, Madam Speaker, expired at the end of March, and we are in the process of updating that program, renewing it, and improving on it, Madam Speaker. This is a program, Madam Speaker, designed for persons with intention of building houses for sale or rent. Madam Speaker, with the onset of COVID-19 pandemic, my government saw the urgent need to introduce SRO number 26 of 2020, which is custom duties and consumption tax on personal protective items exemption order, through which this order we have reduced the tariff rates on personal protective equipment and other COVID-19 related supplies. My government will always look at ways to support initiatives while at the same time safeguard and enhance government revenue. In this regard, I can announce here today that we'll be looking to introduce a series of review and updating to our major taxation and duty legislation. With the support of the Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center, CARTA, with the support of the Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center, work has already begun to the updating of the Income and Corporating Tax Act to modernize it and make it more fit for purpose. The current harmonized commodity description and coding system, commonly referred to as HS coded, used by the Customs Division of the MCRS in the Asikuda system, is to be updated, and my government will review the current tariff rates on some imported items within the next 6 months. Madam Speaker, my government will focus on a number of key areas. The environment is a key concern for my government, and we want to maintain our status as the green island of the region. Therefore, we'll be looking to increasing the tariff rates on single-use plastic bags, single-use food containers, and styrofoam food and drink containers for a period of 1 year. This to be achieved by the third quarter of 2020-21 financial year. This will then lead, Madam Speaker, to a full ban on importation of single-use plastic bags, single-use food containers, and styrofoam food and drinks containers by the first quarter of 2021-22 financial year. Madam Speaker, my government has prioritized the health of our people. And with the development of the hospital, we must support through taxation the health agenda. We will seek during the third quarter of 2020-21 the introduction of an increased tariff rates on sugary drinks and alcohol drinks, and seek to reduce rates on healthy foods and food supplements. We will also look to introduce specific legislation to better govern and regulate the sand mining industry, formalize government revenue from the industry, and put in place a structured and coordinated form of support to the industry, as this sector accounts for 90% of Montserrat exports at this time. Madam Speaker, we need to support local businesses and potential foreign and local investors. And my government will continue to do so. But we need to balance the concessions that we provide to businesses against the loss of revenues to government, which can then be used to invest in education, health, youth, sports, and other key government services. We will look to provide concessions in the future to businesses that provide clear economic benefit to the nation, that will provide new jobs and lead to significant investment. We need to support changes in investment, and my government will look to review and revise the current Micro and Small Business Act, the Fiscal Incentives Act over the coming months, and replace them with something fit for purpose to ensure they focus on the development of businesses, generation of employment, and by extension, enhance government of Montserrat revenue collection. Tax administration. Madam Speaker, the Montserrat Custom and Revenue Service has responsibility, among other things, for the collection of and counting of 86% of Montserrat local generated revenue. MCRS continues to modernize the administration and collection of taxes. For income and company tax, we have newly acquired tax administration computer systems, and the department will be less reliant on the use of thousands of paper files. And for the administration of property tax, we will see the use of newly acquired property tax management systems. This new system will serve to enhance the administration and collection of property tax and the keeping of property valuation records. The department will be less reliant on maintenance and use of thousands of paper files. Madam Speaker, Monstrat's commitments relating to tax information exchange and administered to the Tax Information Exchange Unit in the MCRS. And I am pleased to say at this time, Monstrat is not part of any known adverse listing related to tax administration and tax information exchange. Monstrat is one of the 137 countries worldwide, to include all UK territories that are part of the OECD Inclusive Framework-Based Erosion and Profit Shifting Project. The project promotes some 15 international actions under the framework of the project, of which Monstrat has committed to upholding the standards of 4. There are Action 5 to have minimum standards in place to counter harmful tax practices. Action 6, have in place maximum standards that will prevent tax treaty abuse. Action 13, all for country by country reporting to combat transfer price. And Action 14, be able to deal with tax treaty monitoring and dispute resolution. Madam Speaker, my government is committed to provide support to the MCRS and the Ministry of Finance and is also keen to continue to work with our regional partners, other overseas territories and the UK government to adhere to the ever-changing international standards set by organizations such as the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, Global Forum, the Financial Action Task Force. Recurrent revenue and expenditure 2019-2020 and 2020-2021. Madam Speaker, overall recurrent revenue for 2019-20 was budgeted at $137.7 million. However, the recurrent revenue outturn for 2019-2020 was $134.19 million. This represents an increase of about $4.64 million over government collection on the previous year, 2018-2019. Budget support from the United Kingdom remains the highest contributor to our revenues, with support of $78.69 million in 2019-2020. Local revenue collection in 2019-2020, Madam Speaker, was $55.5 million against the budgeted amount of $58.17 million, the majority of which came from personal income tax and corporation tax. Our approved estimate expenditure for 2019-2020 was $137.7 million, and the revised figure being $141.31 million. Madam Speaker, I will now present the estimates of recurrent expenditure for the 2020-21 fiscal year. The 2021 estimates for revenue and expenditure provides for total expenditure, including debt servicing, of $148.6 million. Budgetary allocation by economic classifications are as follows. Compensation of employees, $50.47 million or 34% of the budget. Goods and services, $54.87 million or 36.8%. Interest payments, $0.38 million or 0.3%. Subsidies, $10.9 million or 7.4%. Grants, $6.55 million or 4.4%. Social benefits, $19.94 million or 13.4 million. And other expenses, $5.44 million or 3.7%. Madam Speaker, there are varying degrees across the various budget economic classifications for 2020-21 budgets when compared to the 2019 revised budget estimates. Salaries have been increased by 2.02 million, or an increase of 4.99%. Allowance have been increased by 0.056 million, or 0.75%. Pension and gratuities reduced by 0.48 million, or a reduction of 3.58%. International travel and subsistence reduced by 0.57 million, or 52.61%. Utilities reduced by 0.15 million, or 5.83%. Furniture, equipment, and resources decreased by 0.049 million, or 1.36%. Uniform protective clothing increased by 0.017 million, or 5.18%. Maintenance services has been increased by 0.29 million, or 3.41%. Rental of assets reduced by 0.13 million, or 9.12%. Grants and contributions increased by 0.049 million, or 0.76%. Social protection reduced by 1.17 million, or 23.25%. Revenue refund reduced by 0.29 million, or 19.82%. Claims against government increased by 0.15 million, or 6.15%. Sundry expenses reduced by 0.15 million, or 25.54%. Program production and promotion has been increased by 0.043 million, or 5.06%. And debt servicing interest increased by 0.088 million, by 0.088 million, or 30.5%. Recurrent revenue 2020-21. Madam Speaker, the revenue estimates for 2020-21 is estimated at 126.65 million. This represents a 9% decrease compared to the 2019-20 approved revised estimates of 139.77 million. This projected increase is as a result of the estimated dramatic fall in our domestic revenue during the COVID-19 pandemic. The estimated revenue from local resources is now set at 37 million, compared to 58.17 million in 2019, a 36% fall in local revenue. The impact of COVID-19 on the estimated local revenues of government is devastating. Even with our physical measures in place, we are seeing and expect further major impact on our key revenue streams such as income tax, corporation tax, and custom duty, and decrease across all revenue streams. Detailed work has been carried out by the economic team with overall revenues for April, May, and June down by 70%. And we estimate that July, August, September, and October will be down by 40%. And the rest of the year will see a 20% decline in revenue. These are the projected figures. We do not see our tourism industry recovering for the year, which will impact on the festival in December and March. Further, we see ongoing pressures coming out of COVID-2019. Budget support from DFID will continue 23.6 million, or $81.65 million, or 64.4% of our current budget, Madam Speaker, is met by the United Kingdom. Budget support from DFID includes 1.5 million, or 1.5 million pounds, or $5.3 million as access subsidy, and 2.8 million pounds, or $9.7 million as technical cooperation and capacity building. Madam Speaker, of the 23.6 million pounds, the exchange rate per pound is calculated at the beginning of April at 3.46 to the pound. In addition to the current budget support from DFID, there is an additional direct support to COVID-19 of £2.5 million, or 8 million EC dollars, which has been included in this budget. In order to address the deficit, Madam Speaker, we have requested further support from DFID to cover the estimated $21.99 million deficit in the budget. Discussion at this time looks positive. Capital items. Madam Speaker, for the period 2020-21, my government confidently presents a capital budget of $79,045,100. We anticipate spending most, if not all of it, this year, which will have spill-off effects on the economy, ensuring high level of job creation. The protection categories are as follows. Madam Speaker, economic infrastructure development of 64.5 million EC dollars, or 81.66%, the capital projects. Social infrastructure, research and services, 8.56 million, or 10.83 million. Sorry. Social infrastructure, Madam Speaker, research and services, EC 8.56 million, or 10.83%. Public administration is EC 3.51 million, or 4.44%. Agricultural services, 0.05 million, or 0.07%. Statistical research is EC 0.3 million, or 0.38%. Education, EC 2.06 million, or 2.6%. And child protection, EC 0.02 million, or 0.02%. Madam Speaker, the capital budget will be funded with the UK government and DFID providing 33.19 million. The European Union support amounting to 20.84 million. UKCIF through the CDB providing 23.9 million, and the other 1.12 million by other funding donors and using local resources. The budget will fund projects such as elements under the Capital Investment Program for Resilience, Economic Growth, to include fiber optic cable, airport resurfacing, improvement of the Munster Secondary School, and we'll see the start of the construction of the new hospital. Developing visitors, attraction, and amenities, the Volcano Interpretive Center, protecting and enhancing the natural environment, enhancing hiking trails and beaches, etc., expanding the diversity and the important and key economic development of the port. Overall budget, recurrent and capital. The total recurrent expenditure, Madam Speaker, for 2020-2021 is budgeted at EC 148.63 million. The capital expenditure for the 2020-21 is estimated to amount to 79.05 million. Therefore, the total budget allocation for the fiscal year 2020-21 is EC 227.68 million. Madam Speaker, I now provide allocation to ministries. The Office of the Deputy Governor receives EC 30.22 million, or 20.34% of the overall budget. The Ministry of Finance and Economic Development receives EC 28.41 million, or 19.12%. The Ministry of Health and Social Services allocation is EC 23.52 million, or 15.83%. The Office of the Premier, EC 21.31 million or 14.34 million, 14.34%. 21.31 million or 14.34%. The Ministry of Communication and Works, 13.83 million or 9.31%. The Ministry of Education, Youth Affairs and Sports, 11.76 million or 7.92%. The Ministry of Agriculture, 6.1 million or 4.11%. The Royal Montserrat Police Service, 7.32 million or 4.93%. And the balance of 6.13 million or 4.1%, Madam Speaker, of the budget is allocated among the other services of government, which include legislative and judicial services, as well as the Office of the Auditor General. For ease of reference, the full set of allocation is detailed in the estimates of revenue and expenditure tabled in this Honourable Assembly. Madam Speaker, the budget has been classified according to the 10 functions of government developed by the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, allowed for global comparison. The concurrent budget resources are allocated as follows. General Public Service, 28.9%. Defense, 1.2%. Public Order and Safety, 7%. Economic Affairs, 37.5%. Environment Protection, 0.6%. Housing and Community Amenities, 0.4%. Health, 9.6%. Recreation, Culture and Religion, 2.2%. Education, 6.4%. And Social Protection, 6.2%. Acknowledgement and thanks. Madam Speaker, as I reflect on just the first few months of our administration, I would like to give thanks to all of those who have made the transition into government as smooth as possible, to ensure that we advance the operations and change programs to deliver for the people of Montserrat. I would first like to acknowledge the contribution of Her Majesty's government, in particular DFID and the FCO, in providing budgetary support and technical assistance in taking forward our programs. Including the United Kingdom Caribbean Investment Fund, we want to recognize the contribution of the Governor as we continue to work together in a manner that places the development of Montserrat and its people at the forefront. I want to also recognize the substantial budgetary support received from the European Union. We applaud the efforts of the Commission to facilitate our development needs and welcome further development of this relationship in the post-Brexit world. We want to express our sincere appreciation for the support of other international and regional organizations in providing a sense of stability, enabling greater policy coordination, and in this regard, we thank UNICEF, UNESCO, UNECLAC, Carbon War Room, Waite Institute, PAHO, CARICOM, and the OECS Secretariat for their continued support. We applaud the continued work and support of the CDB and CARTAC in the provision of technical assistance and policy advice. Last, but more importantly, Madam Speaker, I want to publicly acknowledge and endorse, commend the work of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, its insightful governor and staff in maintaining financial stability and providing physical policy support to the OECS region, and especially during this COVID pandemic. Madam Speaker, very importantly, the public servants at the various ministries and departments who have worked beyond the call of duty, especially during COVID-19 crisis. We all owe them a debt of gratitude. I cannot overemphasize the value of the work done by the small team of public officers, especially those at the Ministry of Finance and the Office of the Premier. I wish to express my appreciation to all of them. In closing, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I conclude the way I began. This budget is unlike any other in history. It is presented at a time when the world continues to be in the midst of a public health emergency, with the continued spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, in which the world has been turned upside down. These are not normal times, and the economic impact of COVID-19 is significant and does present a challenge to governments across the globe as they seek to recover from the harsh realities of economic destruction brought on by this virus. Madam Speaker, in spite of the world's economy's turmoil, this budget is both realistic and ambitious. Realistic in that it has taken the situation at hand into consideration and have adjusted it accordingly. Ambitious in that it's a budget which still brings hope to our people in spite of the difficult times in which we are living. It provides for the continuation of services to our people, while at the same time seeking to expedite the implementation of projects which will create jobs for our peoples. Madam Speaker, this new normal in which we are called to live and operate in has brought challenges, but it has also brought opportunities. It allows for the public and private sector to take a hard look at how services are offered and compel them to find new ways of doing so. Madam Speaker, I close with a phrase from Robert Schuller. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. Together we can. May God continue to bless our homeland. I thank you.
The Chair is recognizing the Honourable Minister for Communications, Works and Labour.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion for the second reading of the Appropriation Bill 2020.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Madam Speaker, I rise to move a motion for the adjournment of this Honourable House until Tuesday, June 23rd at 9 a.m.
I recognize again the Minister for Communications, Works and Labour.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion for the adjournment of this Honourable House to Tuesday, 23rd at 9 a.m.
And so, honourable members, you have before you the motion for the adjournment of this House until Tuesday, 23rd June, beginning at 9 in the morning. Members in favour, could you please say aye?
Aye.
Those against, no. And since the ayes have it, the Assembly is accordingly adjourned.